Hello everyone, and welcome to game number 3 in our best of 5 series between Cubit32, Veivi, Blues, and Deathtacticus. Blues and Deathtacticus taking a solid 2 games in a row. Cubit and Veivi not showing too many signs of life, especially in that second game. They're going to have to turn it around in a pretty extreme way.
So there are no high irons on this map at all.
None whatsoever.
So this is a map that normally you would see scavengers in Scientific.
Yeah, and I imagine that is what we're going to see this time. I mean, no high irons. It is going to force potentially an adjustment out of these players. You can in fact see Deathtacticus. I think this is the first time I've ever seen him go Scientific.
Yeah.
So they are still committing to their at least one expansive player, but moving into Scientific, that's going to be their steel producer this game instead of their standard robotic. Whereas Veivi and Cubit, they have settled into that classic expansive robotic for the 2v2 team once again.
I think what we're going to see always basically is unless you see double scavenger, someone is going to go expansive. What happened? Oh, Cubit grabbed
Cubit already took a pleasure dome tile.
Ooh, it's a 4. It's a 4 for.
Oh, it is a 4 already. Yeah, that thing expanded once. It started out as a 3. Now it's already a 4.
Yeah.
He could end up with 5 on that without too much difficulty.
Yeah. If I was that, well, I guess we'll see.
Level 2. How fast are they going to try and rush into these things is the question. Still only the one robotic, no scavengers, but it should be a fairly valuable pleasure dome long term. Alright, what is this? That looks like a silicon quarry coming out for Cubit.
Oof. Someone got too many steel mills together. So that's going to hurt.
Yeah, that is going to hurt Veivi and Cubit quite badly.
Really?
Not splitting the steel against EMPs. No Goon Squad. Guaranteed no Goon Squad. Like, everybody can see none have been purchased this game.
Yeah.
That is going to be hard to come back from, quite frankly. That kind of hit that early. That is super, super painful. Well,
I mean, look at the situation. Cubit's got 3 tiles claimed they can't do anything with because he doesn't have that steel.
Absolutely. That's a big problem. Already just stuck are Cubit and Veivi, whereas Deathtacticus, he's got 5 steel mills running just fine. Those are making great money. He's ignoring the iron price fantastically.
Yeah, they were discussing whether to go for virtual reality, I assume, by thinking about Patent Rush, which it was a good move. I mean, they don't even necessarily need to claim. It's just important that they make sure they get virtual reality, whether or not they even have a pleasure dome. They just cannot. They can't afford to let Cubit get virtual reality.
Their opponents already have the great spot. Why worry about it? Just take away virtual reality as a tool, and you're right. You should be in a pretty decent location. On top of that, they've already struck so hard.
Yeah, they should be able to do it.
Cubit only just now getting his geotherms established, one of them about to come online. The other one just now getting started.
And Deathtacticus, after all, is Scientific. I mean,
oh yeah. He is Scientific, he's ignoring that nice iron price. He can keep making steel as long as he possibly wants to. Oh man, and already a food shortage, and Deathtacticus is already in food in case they needed another boost. That nice little random effect just makes all this food more and more valuable. Patent office is already in place, not hologrammed or anything, but it is goon squatted.
However, Cubit is going to be making bank off of those geotherms.
Oh, absolutely. Those geotherms are going to be pretty solid. $129 power already. He only has about 6,000 debt to tear through, and he's doing that pretty effectively right now at about 200 a second. So hopefully he'll start making money soon. Whereas Blues and Deathtacticus don't seem to be in power at all just yet.
Yeah, that seems weird.
That is weird.
They need to move pretty soon. I mean, right now, just to make money. All right, they're on their way right now.
I would almost rather see them build superconductor at this point, but no, they are going to go for the geotherms, which is fine.
Yeah, not bothering to hide the patent office. I think maybe they just, you know, they're racing. They didn't want to spend the 3,000 on it, I would guess.
Yeah, they were just racing for virtual reality as fast as they could possibly get there. And even along with that, they've tossed virtual reality effectively onto their debt player, the one with steel mills, the one who founded first. So they don't even really have a good plan to utilize that anytime soon. They're just saying, man, we do not want you guys to have that tile with virtual reality.
I don't know if they did this on purpose, but you should. They hologrammed their patent office before the previous 2 games, but I think that was because there was a mutiny available. Mutinies can be super great against patent labs.
That is
true. There's one specific patent you want, but now, you know, it's not that big of a deal.
That is fair. And still, of course, the Goon Squad in place, just in case.
12,4
All right. Carbon scrubbing, always going to be pretty valuable. Interesting that Blues, it looks like, is trying to maybe turn himself into the debt player. But he already has power online. This game just feels a lot less coordinated out of Blues and Deathtacticus. It doesn't look like they were ready to handle this situation and this map nearly as effectively as they were in the first two games.
Yeah, I think that just that early claim by Cubit really threw them off, even though he knew he wasn't going to be anywhere near able to build a Pleasure Dome.
Absolutely. And with that fantastic EMP, they're not nearly as far ahead as one might expect. They have a lead in, they definitely have a lead in upgrades, a strong, solid one. They've got this virtual reality claimed, but they don't have that cohesive game plan that we've seen out of them the last several games.
Yeah, and they're picking up a lot of debt.
Awful lot of debt. I mean, it's fairly ridiculous. Cubit's geotherm's getting blown up. That's an important thing. And that Pleasure Dome, it's not super crazy valuable just yet.
Yeah, he's just barely making a little bit of money, based on $100 a second.
But it's already forced such a massive reaction out of Deathtacticus and Blues that maybe it's been worth it anyway.
Yeah, and you think of all that money put into the patent lab. And
Ooh, that iron shortage, that is not what Veivi and Cubit were looking for. Veivi is pretty much going to have to get upgraded, switch out some of these steel mills for iron mines, get some more steel production down eventually.
Yeah.
This is a great moment for them to make a lot of money, but he's got to make sure to be able to actually utilize it.
I really wish Deathtacticus had grabbed carbon scrubbing, because since he does have the patent lab up, he could just drop down some chem labs and just start picking up all the patents. Like, it seems like that would have been nice to do, but
yeah. I mean, I don't mind it on Blues in particular because as an expansive player, you have more tiles. And so it's quite possible you'll be the one consuming more carbon, and I think it can work out just fine still.
Yeah.
There we go.
Nice use of the slowdown strike on the Pleasure Dome. Makes it an unprofitable building.
Yeah.
And, of course, the Goon Squad is not a factor. So, another reason I hadn't thought about that for Pleasure Dome not being so awesome on this map.
Oh, certainly. But I think on top of that, once again, it's not just about how much money the Pleasure Dome makes, it's about the reaction that it forces out of your opponents. I think if we hadn't seen that steel freeze early onto Veivi, we could be looking at a very, very different game here. Thankfully, with that, Blues and Deathtacticus at this point have established and are maintaining a lead. But it's not the ridiculous lead that we've seen in either of the other two games at this stage.
Interesting. Cubit's just sitting on a war chest.
Oh yeah, he has a crazy amount of cash. I mean, part of that may just be that steel is up at that $157, $158 price. And so he may be looking, how much can I gather up? How does this offer me an opportunity to get aggressive? What can I do with this money rather than just take a very, very expensive upgrade? All right. High Aluminum does get picked up by Deathtacticus. I think we might have lost Soren again, guys, but that's okay. That happens. $6,000 for that is not a great deal, considering it's just a high aluminum tile, aluminum down at $19 a piece, but it's probably still a usable tile, so hopefully not the end of the world. Oh wow, actually a steel shortage coming on through. That is absolutely ridiculous. Nobody with the hacker ray either, but these shortages have been working out very, very well for Deathtacticus and Blues, and Cubit has actually decided that the time is now. He is going to get aggressive against Deathtacticus. Unfortunately, he doesn't have anything near what he actually needs to finish this attack out. His power is not making a significant amount of money anymore. His geotherms are not making a significant amount of money anymore. His Pleasure Dome is doing all right, but I don't think he's got quite enough to finish this push, and so I don't feel like this is going to work out. He's down. They're still down at HQ level 3 against level 5 and level 4 with a hacker array established. I'm fairly certain that hasn't been up for all that long. I might have missed it earlier. And Deathtacticus has still managed to secure, Deathtacticus and Blues have managed to secure 4 of Deathtacticus' stock, and so Cubit still needs $212,000 to clean this game on up, whereas right now he's sitting back on about 35. That is just not gonna cut it. On top of that, they don't have a great amount of steel production. Just these 3 steel mills with a smattering of adjacency bonuses between them. That is just not gonna do. They are gonna have to transition. They're going to have to get upgraded. They are going to have to play catch up. Now they do have a stock advantage right now, but it's not a significant game-changing stock advantage necessarily. They're still going to be against a very strong opponent who already has $100,000 just sitting around in, loose change at this point. And Veivi is exceptionally vulnerable right now, back on HQ level 3. He can't find any way to effectively make a whole lot of money at the moment. They're not in enough water to really compensate. These buildings are barely making cash, some of them not making cash at all. Now, I'm still very, very concerned about where Cubit and Veivi are this game. I don't see this going particularly well for them. Check on Skype very quickly and see if anything's going down over there. I'm not seeing it. Okay, yeah, I had to drop from Soren, so we are updated on that front at least. And so, what are we looking at here? High aluminum auction once again. Gonna go unconcerned about it, looks like. Blues has a random hologram down that looks like a patent office, but isn't actually doing anything of the sort. It's simply a glass furnace. Always love to see these plays kind of draw your opponent away from your real buildings. Maybe they're going to be more concerned about the fake one. Maybe you get lucky that way. Definitely love seeing holograms on just random buildings. Always a nice thing to see. I like them in diamonds better, right? Because hopefully this isn't going to trick anybody into actually attacking this patent office, but you never know. Maybe it will. And finally, it's time for Blues. He feels like he wants to get aggressive, sitting on $235,000 plus a fair amount in resources. And Cubit, once again, has actually just left. They give it up right then and there. They saw how much money Blues was sitting on. And a completely different game out of Blues and Deathtacticus, showing some weakness there, realistically. Showing that you can make moves to slow them down, but it wasn't anywhere near enough to actually take them out. Maybe if Cubit had managed to store up enough to bring down Deathtacticus, cut off that steal from Blues, we could have seen something. I mean, there were options there. Maybe just a few better details in the early game, defending the early steel mills. The fact that Cubit and Veivi even stayed alive after that initial steel freeze was a very, very, very big deal, and not at all expected. So they did better that time. They did better, but Blues and Deathtacticus moving into the late game still showed they knew what to do. They didn't need the Pleasure Dome. They didn't need the power cache to press on through that game. They just built a hacker array, moved into an off-world market, and that was more than enough at HQ level 5 to finish that one up. So,
hey, sorry, I'm back.
You're back. Hey, you
So
missed the 3-0. What happened was Cubit made his push with his pile of cash. It was nowhere near enough.
Yep.
Like, just absolutely nowhere near enough. He needed about 200,000 more to finish the game off.
Yep. And then he just thought he fell flat at that point, basically.
Well, and yeah, and at that point he was falling flat. They stayed in it for a while, but eventually Blues manages to get up a hacker array.
Yep.
The first step toward the end game. And then he also managed to begin an off-world market, which I don't even know if Cubit and Veivi knew about. Somehow I kind of doubt it. And from there, Cubit just gave it up. I mean, basically Blues finally got to the point where he had about 250,000 saved away. Started buying up Cubit stock, and Cubit instantly gave up the ghost. He was like, nope, we're done here. We can tell.
I'm surprised he went for the stock play. Did you think he forgot that there's no majority buyout?
I don't think so. That seems like a silly mistake for Cubit to make. He may have just considered that was his only option. It's maybe what he felt like.
He was short, and I mean, you just got to upgrade in that situation, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do. Even if it hurts, but just not enough steel production coming out from Veivi and Cubit early. Maybe not respecting the iron situation appropriately. Could have potentially easily gone scientific with that setup down there. It doesn't feel great, but you can still get a solid 5 steel mills in, and then some glass furnaces. You lose a little adjacency here and there, but we saw iron come back and hurt them more than it helped long term, so it seemed like once again Blues and Deathtacticus with the right general idea, willing to mix it up when necessary away from that robotic, expansive standard. Ugh. That was a bit of a faster series than I was expecting.
Yep. Yep, indeed.
Just
As I see this game was a little different.
this game was a little different, and I was glad to see it. Just kind of, what is the play and counterplay when things start going wrong? And you could tell when things started going wrong. Blues and Deathtacticus did not handle it well.
All right.
They still won, but there was some definite weakness there. So I'm really hoping that whoever's going to end up going up against them in the finals will be able to put on a better show than Cubit and Veivi were able to show today.
Yeah, I mean they got to at least. I mean, it's funny. Like there's a lot of stuff going on, but at the end of the day, basically Blues and Suzanne got to level 4, right? Like ultimately, it seems like that's the difference, and that they were able to go from there. So
yeah, and I think not protecting your steel mills and having them all right next to all of your iron income, that is going to kill you fast. And there's not really a great reason for it. When you can split, what we were consistently seeing Deathtacticus do as the robot was he would go like 2 iron mines with a steel mill next to him, and then 3 steel mills elsewhere, right? All of those steel mills, you've got 4 steel mills up, and they all have the exact same adjacency bonus, that 75%.
Yep.
And that's a great place to be, realistically. That is the kind of move, I think, that kind of differentiates the experienced player from the inexperienced player, the one who knows when to sacrifice those small bonuses to avoid a blowout situation.
Right.
Still, though, a good showing. Definitely don't want to downplay that Blues and Deathtacticus. I mean, they didn't just roll over Cubit and Veivi because they're weak players, because they're not in any way.
Yep.
They just came prepared with the gameplay and executed it very, very well in the first 2 games, and were able to handle the mix-ups that came at them in game number 3. Just take a nice, clean series.
Yep. Yeah, I think the hard part is that the team games, even more than in 1v1, like when they go bad, they can go bad in a hurry.
Oh yeah,
because you got 2 people able to get leverage over you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and on top of that, when you're building a team colony, in a lot of ways, you're a lot more fragile than in a 1v1 situation, because if one thing goes wrong, suddenly both of you are taken out of the equation. Like, yeah, okay, it was just Veivi's steel that got frozen, but Veivi was making all of their steel.
Yep.
And you just can't afford that situation.
All right, well, I got to take off. Thanks for broadcasting, and I will, I guess, probably watch you guys watch later today as best I can.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for joining us today.
Cool. Catch you later.
Mm-hmm.